Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. I was raised in a single-parent household alongside my older sister, Amanda. Our upbringing was anything but balanced. My father died in a car accident when I was still a toddler, too young to remember his face or voice beyond the faded photographs tucked away in drawers that no one ever talked about. Amanda and I technically shared the same home and the same mother, but the emotional landscapes we occupied were drastically different. Amanda's father was a man my mother had an intense, complicated history with. Someone she still referred to, even years later, as the love of her life. He had left my mother when Amanda was a baby and disappeared to start a new life with another woman. Despite the abandonment, my mother romanticized him, elevating his memory to something tragic and beautiful, as if he had been some poetic, misunderstood soul instead of a man who walked out on his daughter. By contrast, my own father, who had died young and never had the chance to walk away, was treated like a footnote. My mother rarely mentioned him, and when she did, it was usually dismissive, reducing his existence to a bad choice she had been forced to live with. It didn't take long for me to realize that, in my mother's eyes, Amanda was the living reminder of what might have been, while I was the leftover from a story she wanted to forget. Growing up, Amanda was always the favored one. She was praised endlessly, defended without question, and rewarded disproportionately. She received brand new clothes, the latest phones, lavish birthday parties, and a constant stream of validation. I, on the other hand, learned early on how to survive in the margins. I was often told to be grateful and to stop comparing. When I asked for school trip money, I was met with eye rolls or told to get a part-time job. When Amanda wanted a car at 18, my mom co-signed a loan for a brand new one. The disparity became normal, not because it didn't hurt, but because I knew it was useless to expect fairness. Even when Amanda messed up, she was coddled, excused, and protected. If I so much as questioned why I was being treated differently, I was labeled dramatic, jealous, or selfish. Eventually, I stopped asking. I learned to keep my head down and navigate life with as little expectation of support as possible. At 19, I found out I was pregnant. It wasn't planned, and it certainly wasn't well received. My boyfriend Ethan had just enlisted in the military and would soon be deployed. The timing was awful, but he was committed to stepping up. I was terrified but determined to make it work. When I broke the news to my mother, she looked at me with a mixture of disgust and disappointment, as if I had single-handedly ruined the family name. She accused me of throwing away my future and implied that I had trapped Ethan. Amanda, who by then was studying abroad and dating a wealthy finance guy, texted me a curt message that essentially amounted to me being irresponsible. I didn't expect a celebration, but I also didn't expect to feel like I had committed some unforgivable sin. My mother told me not to expect help, financial or otherwise. She said I had made my choice and would need to live with it. I moved out shortly after and stayed with my close friend Zoe. The pregnancy was difficult, not just physically but emotionally. Ethan stayed in touch as best as he could while overseas, calling when possible, sending letters and voice notes, and constantly expressing how much he wished he could be there. But I was essentially navigating this new chapter alone. Zoe's parents were incredibly supportive, offering me a safe space, warm meals, and occasional rides to prenatal appointments. My mother didn't attend a single one. She never asked about the baby's progress. She never offered help with anything, not even a simple ride to the store or a hand with setting up a crib. Meanwhile, Amanda was back in town and regularly posting about expensive dinners, spa weekends, and designer handbags gifted to her by her new boyfriend. My mother, of course, was smitten with him. She often gushed about how Amanda finally found someone successful, and how proud she was of her smart, beautiful daughter. I faded into the background of their lives like I was a distant relative, rather than her youngest child about to give birth alone. The day I went into labor was cold and quiet. It was around 11:30 in the morning when the contractions started, and within an hour, they were becoming increasingly unbearable. Zoe was working an overnight shift and wouldn't be home for another few hours. Panicking and in pain, I called my mother. I was curled up on the bathroom floor, crying and trying not to scream. I explained that I was in labor and needed someone to take me to the hospital. Her response was indifferent at best. She mentioned she had plans that day. Specifically, lunch with Amanda and her boyfriend, the first time she'd be meeting him properly. She said she was already dressed, makeup done, and didn't want to cancel at the last minute. She told me to see if Zoe could come home early, and hung up. I didn't even have the strength to call her again. Zoe returned as soon as I texted her and rushed me to the hospital. By the time I was admitted, I was 6 centimeters dilated and struggling to stay calm. It was Ethan's mother, not mine, who held my hand through labor after flying in at the last minute. She cried when Lily was born. My mother never showed up. She never called. She never even sent a text to ask if I was alive. A few days after giving birth, as I sat in my hospital bed cradling my newborn daughter and processing the overwhelming love and pain coursing through me, I made a decision. I pulled out my phone and sent my mother a message, not out of rage, but out of clarity. I told her I didn't want her in my life anymore. I told her Lily had one grandmother, and it was Ethan's mother, the woman who dropped everything and flew across the country to be by my side. I told her she had made her choice the moment she prioritized the lunch date over her daughter in labor, and that I would never forgive her for it. After sending the message, I blocked her. What followed over the next few weeks was an avalanche of attempted communication. First came the texts and calls from unrecognized numbers, voicemails laced with guilt, accusations, and backhanded apologies. Then came the emails. My mother tried every tactic in the book: denial, gaslighting, weaponized tears. She said I had overreacted, that she didn't know it was that serious, that I should have tried harder to get her attention, that Amanda's boyfriend was an important first impression. She said I was robbing her of the chance to be a grandmother, that Lily would grow up hating me for keeping her away from her real family. I ignored every message. Then came the real bombshell, a formal letter from a family law firm stating that my mother was exploring legal options to pursue grandparents' rights and visitation with my daughter. The sheer gall of it stunned me. This woman, who couldn't be bothered to show basic decency on one of the most important and vulnerable days of my life, now believed she had a legal and moral right to a relationship with the child she abandoned at birth. She had shown no interest in my pregnancy, no involvement in my journey to motherhood, and made it painfully clear that she viewed me as a burden. Now she was trying to insert herself into my daughter's life, not out of love, but out of control. A last-ditch effort to maintain her image and claw back power. She wasn't mourning a lost connection. She was mourning her loss of access. Now, my extended family is split. Some relatives are telling me to be the bigger person, that my mother made a mistake and deserves forgiveness. Others, especially those who've seen the way she's treated me my whole life, say I'm finally doing the right thing by standing firm. Amanda, unsurprisingly, has posted a series of cryptic Instagram stories about bitter people weaponizing children, and has completely sided with our mother. Ethan and his mom, however, have been nothing but supportive. They've made it clear that whatever decision I make, they'll help me protect Lily's peace. Still, I wonder if I'm being too harsh. I wonder if cutting her off entirely is going too far. I know there are people who've grown up without parents at all, and here I am pushing mine away. But when I think about what she did, how she abandoned me when I needed her most, I don't know how to let that go. I don't know how to look at my daughter and pretend that her grandmother didn't choose social status over our family. I gave my mother chances. I tried. But in the end, she reminded me that I was never the daughter she wanted, only the daughter she tolerated, not the a-hole. OP's mother didn't just make a mistake. She made a choice, a deliberate, callous, and unforgivable choice to prioritize social optics and a lunch date over the literal birth of her grandchild. That is not a lapse in judgment. That is a deep, festering reflection of how little she values OP as a person. The fact that she only started caring about her rights once she realized she was cut off speaks volumes. She's not grieving the loss of a relationship. She's grieving the loss of control. Her threats of legal action are nothing more than emotional blackmail disguised as entitlement. OP is not punishing her. OP is protecting her daughter from the same emotional neglect and favoritism that OP has endured her whole life. And now let's hear community's opinion. This story broke my heart because it's not just about a bad mother. It's about generational betrayal. Your mom has been emotionally absent your entire life. She chose your sister again and again, even when it came down to something as critical and life-altering as childbirth. She had the opportunity to finally do something right, to rewrite a small piece of the narrative, to show up for the daughter she pushed aside for years. And she walked away for brunch. Now she wants visitation rights like she's earned something? She abandoned you in labor. That's not just neglectful, that's cruel. Not the a-hole, and I hope you continue to protect your peace and your baby girl from the toxicity she tried to pass off as parenting. The fact that she's trying to claim grandmother rights after refusing to take you to the hospital when you were literally in labor is beyond disgusting. It's audacious. She abandoned you in a medical emergency. She had one job that day, be a mother, and she chose to be a socialite instead. Her behavior isn't just selfish, it's dangerous. You gave birth alone, scared, and unsupported. That is trauma. And now she wants to waltz back into your life for the fun part, the photo ops, the baby snuggles, all without taking accountability for the emotional devastation she left behind. Absolutely not. Not the a-hole. You are under no obligation to grant access to your child to someone who failed you so catastrophically when it mattered most. Grandparent rights are for people who actually act like grandparents, not for mothers who ghost their daughters during labor to play matchmaker over mimosas. Your mom isn't looking for a relationship with your child. She's looking for another opportunity to control you, to rewrite history, and to publicly play the victim while privately continuing her pattern of favoritism and neglect. I'm so proud of you for breaking the cycle. You are the kind of mother your daughter will one day be proud of. And trust me, children feel that energy. Lily will grow up surrounded by real love, not performative love. Keep the boundaries. Let your lawyer handle the threats. And don't let guilt disguise itself as duty. You owe your daughter a peaceful upbringing, not your mother redemption she hasn't earned. Not the a-hole forever and always. To start, I'm one of 11 children. My father was not a very nice man, and I won't get into that, but I will say that my relationship with my half-siblings has always been strained to nearly permanently breaking when my father decided to bestow upon me, not the oldest, or even the oldest girl, a ring that has been in our family for over 100 years. My family used to be quite wealthy, but now we are definitely not, and it was the only thing of value my father owned. Before he died, he gave it to me, mostly so it wouldn't go to his wife, not my mother, and because I was always his favorite. The problem is, my father never knew that I was gay. I'm now happily married to a woman and have 2 lovely daughters, both adopted. Therein lies the problem. One of my sisters recently decided to turn half of my siblings against me. We're all getting older, and she believed that the ring should absolutely stay within the blood family, that it represented the hard work of our ancestors, that I haven't even had my daughters since they were babies, adopted at 3 years old and 6 years old. She also brought up that if my father had known I was gay, I would never have received the ring, as it has always gone to blood family only. This is true. Personally, I hate this ring. It's caused me so much pain, and it caused my father pain. He was the only biological child of his mother, who was a step-parent to 4 other kids, not including him. And it was a huge row when she left most of her estate, including the ring, to him. And it just hasn't represented anything good in our family for many, many generations. So I gave the ring to my brother to give to my favorite niece, a girl who I not only believe will take care of the ring, but who I think will make something of herself, and is unlikely to pawn it. It's worth well into 6 figures last we had it appraised. I just wanted to be done with it. My wife found out that I gave away the ring and was furious. She said that devalued my daughters by doing it, accused me of not really loving them, brought up money that I'd spent before we adopted my daughters, and once after, on trying to get pregnant. You name it, she threw it at me. Of course, we can't currently live separately, but I know if she could, she would. Truly, when I returned the ring, I was not thinking that my daughters don't count or anything like that. And if I believed the ring was a good thing, I would have fought for them. But I think it's just a symbol of pain and destructiveness. My girls have always fought one another, and I knew it would just cause a rift when I had to choose between them. I didn't want to saddle that on them, or more selfishly, break up my already fractured family. Not the a-hole. You threw away a bad omen. The ring symbolizes nothing but grief, and you should explain that to your wife. Your daughters still have all the love and support of you, their actual family, and will never lose that. The outside family's love and support, however, is tenuous at best. You are not your family. The ring isn't the one true ring. Let it go. If they want it that bad, let it destroy them instead. No a-holes. I understand both viewpoints. I think this just sounds like a misunderstanding. Your wife is rightfully hurt and offended, but you haven't done anything wrong, and you didn't even want the ring. Other family members did. I think this is something that can be talked out. Not the a-hole. That ring was your possession and should be treated as any other material belonging in your life, which means you can do whatever you want with it. No one else has the right to tell you what to do with your own belongings, and you shouldn't have to come up with any explanation to justify your decision. My 33 female, father, 61 male, is now living in my childhood home again after my mom moved out after their divorce in 2016. His girlfriend, 54 female, partially lives there with him, but also has her own place in a different town where she works. Me and my father have always been very close, and I've always gotten the feeling that she didn't like that for some reason. This past weekend, there was a family thing in my hometown, and my dad had already asked if my sister and I would come up north and spend the weekend there. My dad has 2 spare bedrooms, mine and my brother's from childhood. My older sister grew up with her mom, so she didn't have a room. But only one of them has a bed. Since my sister and her daughter would be taking the spare bed, I said I'd bring an air mattress. We didn't talk about this again for a few weeks. My sister then goes up north on Friday and texts me in the evening asking when I'll be there. I respond with, "Not until tomorrow. By the way, I forgot to tell Dad I'd come on Saturday and only stay one night. Can you brief him in?" And she was like, "Sure." An hour later or so, I get a call from my father saying that his girlfriend had left. I was like, okay, since I didn't even know she was there in the beginning. So the reason why she left is that she didn't know I was coming and that I was staying, and she hates how comfortable I am in her house. I grew up there for 18 years, so I'll just get food from the fridge without asking, take a bath, etc. Apparently, she finds this extremely rude. I had no idea. Personally, I don't think it's weird behavior, but I honestly don't know. Dad's understandably sad about everything because she didn't even say goodbye. She just heard that I was coming and that I was staying the night, and packed her bags and left for her house in another town, and didn't respond to my dad's calls and texts. When my dad told me about this, I offered to just stay in a hotel. He said that it probably didn't matter now because his girlfriend probably wasn't coming back for the weekend. I stayed in a hotel anyway, just in case it made things easier for my father. I called my dad today to see how he was doing after the weekend, and he said that he finally reached his girlfriend a few days later, and they were talking again, and that he needed to place firmer boundaries with me, and that I couldn't behave any way I wanted. I had to respect that this wasn't my home anymore, but a home that he shares with his girlfriend, and I need to follow their rules. I must admit, it feels like her rules, but I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This sounds like it's more on your dad than you if his girlfriend had expressed concerns to him and he hadn't addressed it. It technically isn't your house. I doubt it is technically hers either. It's your dad's. So it's on him to handle boundaries and rules. For some reason, I suspect there is more to the story about your activities than just looking in the fridge or getting a bath. But who knows, maybe not. I suspect his girlfriend has also brought things up to him before, and maybe he didn't address it. That might also be wrong. There's a lot about this situation that makes it unclear. But if no one has communicated any rules or expectations different than what you've always done, then not the a-hole. You're not the a-hole. It's his girlfriend, not his fiancée or wife. You're his flesh and blood. It's not her house. So her getting pissy rubs me wrong. It sounds to me like she's got her hooks into your dad and is manipulating and controlling him. Not the a-hole. The issue here is not about placing boundaries for you. It's that your dad needs a new girlfriend. She finds you, her boyfriend's daughter, uncomfortable because of how you act in the house that you grew up in. On top of it, she is already claiming it is her house and is forcing a wedge between you and your father. Unfortunately, this is the time when your dad needs to make a difficult decision, and I really hope he sees what she is doing to his family. I think the only way he is going to start getting the message is if you only visit your dad when she is 100% not there. I have two daughters, bio 16 and stepdaughter 15. Despite them being completely different, they get on just fine. My stepdaughter is a very private kid. Nothing wrong with that. She just likes to be given space and privacy. We used to, kind of still do, live in a small 2-bedroom apartment where both my daughters shared one room. We recently bought my first house, which has 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a spacious yard. My daughter had her eyes set on the second biggest room, besides my wife's and mine, and wanted to have it. She said it's spacious, well lit, comfortable with a nice view. Seeing that she's got good grades and because I couldn't get her the birthday present she wanted, I thought promising her the room will be perfect makeup for my debts to her. We still haven't officially moved into the house, but my daughter has been excited to decorate the room like she imagined it. Then this issue came up and turned the whole agreement upside down. It started when my daughter kept pestering her stepsister to show her what she wrote in her new private journal. My stepdaughter refused since that's private stuff. I didn't know about this happening until my stepdaughter told me and my wife that my daughter took pictures of what was in her journal and posted it on her Instagram account for everyone to see. I was stunned, kept thinking how and why the hell my daughter would do such a thing. My stepdaughter told us about her stepsister pestering her for days about seeing this new journal. I asked my daughter directly, and she said she was seeking advice to make sure her stepsister's over need for privacy was healthy by having her expert friends read the context and analyze her personality. I lost my temper and told her she was wrong after she said she wanted to help her sister see that it's okay to talk to others. I told her this stuff is highly personal and no one is entitled to read it, much less publish it online. I told her she had no respect for her sister's privacy, and for that, the room she wanted so badly is going to her sister instead. My daughter didn't take it well. She began crying, begging me to punish her some other way, and called me awful for refusing to reconsider. She reminded me that I promised to let her have that room, and that I lied to her. She called my sister-in-law, and she said by giving the room to my stepdaughter, my daughter will hate her, and the relationship will go downhill over it. But I was clear I wasn't changing my mind. It's been some time and my daughter hasn't stopped crying about wanting the room back since I owed her. Everyone sucks here. Your daughter is absolutely an a-hole and needs to be punished. But making her stepsister an element of the punishment creates a situation where she can, and will, blame her stepsister for the punishment that she absolutely deserves, especially since she's probably already mad about her sister getting her in trouble. So she's an a-hole for her behavior, and you are a lesser a-hole for bringing your stepdaughter into her sister's punishment, and possibly setting her up to be a scapegoat in your daughter's mind. Especially since these two girls do still have to share a house and a life together. You should have punished your daughter in a way that was only about her. Owed her? Seriously? Nix that mindset. No owe. Your daughter earns it. Her incredibly poor judgment in posting the private journal of her sister is justification for changing the allotment of rooms. I would suggest, since there are 4 bedrooms, that the younger daughter does not move into the second biggest room either. That is left empty as a necessary home office, guest bedroom, for you and your spouse. Eldest daughter takes the 4th bedroom, since the spacious bedroom has now no longer been earned by the incredibly poor judgment. Also, have a serious discussion about social media use. You can even own up to saying I made a mistake in saying you could have it originally, and the behavior she displayed really highlighted that, so you are correcting it. You should not make snap decisions on these items, nor should you reward one's punishment to the other. Not the a-hole, but still plenty of areas for improvement. Oh, I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here. I think your bio daughter made a big mistake, like a really big one. She is really the a-hole in the situation. But I'm not sure that was the right punishment. Your sister-in-law is kinda right. This could definitely cause more tension between the siblings. Maybe a ban from social media, no phone, no computer, etc. may have been a better way to handle this. But I'm glad you are taking action regardless. My mom has a very Eastern European name, and my paternal grandmother hated that her baby boy married someone with such a weird name. It's clearly not an English name, but is well known in English-speaking countries, like Helga. When my parents announced they were having a baby, my grandma's first comment was, "You better not give it one of those weird European names." So naturally, my parents started referring to me as Rasputin, and kept their name choices secret. Mom and Dad also kept my gender secret, which drove Grandma insane, and made her hellish to deal with on top of the name thing. My parents were done with this BS by the time I came along, and wanted some revenge. My maternal grandma, who was Ukrainian, had made me a baby hat with traditional Ukrainian embroidery. When I was born, my parents let the nurses in on their revenge plan and asked them to swaddle me in a blue blanket instead of a pink or white one, and put that hat on me for when my paternal grandparents came to the hospital to meet me. Grandma walks in, sees my hat, and then my mom says, "Meet our grandson Rasputin. We got attached to the name during the pregnancy." Grandma was not impressed. Every photo of her, she has the most impressive cat butt face. My parents and the nurses kept up the ruse for 2 hours. The nurses going so far as to ask, "How's little Razzie doing?" And then they'd come into the room. After a while, Mom couldn't keep it going anymore, and while my grandpa was holding me next to Mom's bed, she told him I'm actually a girl and the real, very normal name. He was a prankster, especially when it annoyed his wife, so she knew he'd appreciate the joke. Until he passed away, my grandpa's nickname for me was Razzie, much to my grandma's annoyance. I love that you have a special thing with your grandpa, and family members who think they get a say in baby names can just go away. You probably know this already, but Rasputin is a family name, surname. His first name was Grigory. When pregnant with first, biblical names very popular, and my mother-in-law hated them. Every visit, every phone call, she would rage for 10 minutes about biblical names. After a couple of months, we told her we were naming baby Jesus or Mary. The look on her face. Son was named something else, but I had fun for months. My brother Matthew, 31 male, and I, 27 female, are very close and grew up being best friends. Later this summer, I'm getting married to my fiancé, Alex, 30 male, and Matthew is the best man. Matthew and Alex are close friends, and my brother organized the bachelor party trip. During this trip, he met this girl named Marla, late 20s, female, and went on one date with her and they flirted, but didn't kiss. He even told me he found her cute, but a little annoying because she wanted to text every day. I did not think much of it because her city is on the other side of the country. Fast forward a few weeks, and Marla traveled to our city to visit family and ended up reconnecting with my brother. He fell for her hard and fast, and they decided by the end of her trip to try to date. Nothing against it. I thought it was very rushed, but I was in a long-distance relationship myself with Alex for a while because of circumstances of life before we got engaged. Matthew asked me for Marla to be his date for the wedding reception and for the rehearsal dinner, which I, again, found a little premature, but agreed nonetheless. More recently, I accidentally eavesdropped a conversation between Matthew and Alex, and that included some very private discussions of Marla's prowess. I pretended I didn't hear it, but I was extremely triggered because Alex seemed a little too interested, and I was a little disgusted that my brother would discuss his intimacy like that. A few days after that, Alex and I finally met Marla in person. She was nice and pretty enough, although I was surprised because she's not my brother's usual type. She's also from a different ethnic and religious background. No matter how much she tried socializing with, I confess, I was still upset and wasn't very nice to her. Matthew noticed and confronted me over text, so I called him and told him the truth about why I was upset and didn't want his girlfriend at the wedding. I did say some explicit things and called Marla names, which I do regret, and told my brother that he wasn't in love. He was just in lust because she does some unusual bed stuff. Alex ended up hearing the call and tried reasoning with me. He did say he was sorry for engaging in this type of conversation. I've forgiven him, but he thinks we should let Matthew bring Marla to the wedding. My parents are also on Matthew's side and are pressuring me. They helped pay for the wedding, saying that my brother really likes this girl, etc. She's not aware of the whole conundrum just yet, as far as I know. Honestly, for me, it's almost a matter of honor. I don't see why I should have to see this person I don't even know at my rehearsal dinner and reception, just because my brother is throwing a tantrum. It is my wedding, not his. He's threatening not coming to the wedding if I don't let it go. You're the a-hole. Go off on Alex and Matt, but what'd Marla do to deserve this? The only time she met you, you weren't nice to her. Then you tried to S-shame her behind her back after eavesdropping on a private conversation. You're the a-hole, and you agreed. You don't have to like her, as she's your brother's chosen, not yours. While I can see it is early in a relationship to become a wedding date, that doesn't matter anymore. You gave the permission and now want to revoke it over perceptions of her that are none of your business. You're the a-hole for all those reasons. Not a single thing on your list is Marla's fault. Great choice to destroy your relationship with your brother over, being jealous that your fiancé and your brother talked about your brother's life. Great choice blaming a woman you hardly know and say is nice enough for the behavior of two men who are close enough to you that you should take it up with them. Great choice to alienate family due to your own insecurities. Maybe you should get some therapy before you get married.